Okay, have and have not fans, this is going to be a quick video, and I mean a quick video. It might run along, but quick as in I'm literally throwing this together as soon as I can because the episode starts in less than 55 minutes, and this is something I didn't want to, and if you can tell in my last video, I really didn't want to talk about it. It was the possibility of little Quincy Jr. being the one who gets shot by Warlock's bullet, or at least, the one who gets shot in the scuffle between Mitch, Benny, and then Warlock, his crew, and Hanna's motel room. Now, I was actually thinking about it a lot today because I posted a couple of videos, I believe it was on Sunday, about my predictions on the mid-season finale as well as who gets shot. And a lot of people been commenting saying that, hey, I think I don't want it, but I think little Quincy might be the one to get shot. And again, I've said it time and time again, I really don't like the aspect of a little kid being killed. But I have to let go of that reservation for the sake of, okay, it is a TV show, but at the same time, we've seen that anybody can go. Nobody is fair game because if you really think about it, and again, I thought back to season one, season two, really, when Wyatt hit little Lizzy. And I thought to myself, okay, I don't think Tyler Perry will actually show child death on the show. I mean, we might hear a scream or something to that effect, and it will be implied that, Quincy was the one to get shot. But, I had to let go of that fear and just make this video to talk about it. And again, it sounds tragically wrong, but in a sense right, that if Quincy was the one to get shot and, again, maybe killed, his death would actually make the most, well, what's the word I'm looking for? It would actually push the story along the most. And what I mean by that is, I want to start it off with a connection I didn't even think about until maybe an hour ago. I've always wondered what happened to Michael, little Lizzy's grandpa. The last time we seen him, if I'm not mistaken, was when Candace called him and Benny over to her house with a lawyer to sue the Criers. That was the last time we actually saw him. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that was towards the ending of season 3. So I want to say it's season 3. But in any case, the connection between those two would actually be stronger when you think about it because both will be mourning the deaths of their grandchild due to the events of their reckless daughter. Little Lizzy's, his mom or Michael's daughter was a drug addict just like Wyatt, and she was at that crack house. And because of that, little Lizzy was just, playing outside that way when Wyatt was assaulted by some of the druggies trying to get his money and car and whatnot. That's why he spun off and pretty much hit her. I believe what he said, he jumped in the car. He sped off. Some of the people let go of the car because they were actually hanging on to it. And then after that, he actually came down the road, came back up and then hit her. And that was the little Lizzy death. Pretty much, Michael's daughter doing something she wasn't supposed to do, pretty much her old habits because he was trying to get her out of the drug habits, but she kept going back, and then because of that, her recklessness led to her daughter being killed. Compare that to Hanna, Candace, and Quincy. Hanna's been trying to get Candace to come out of her ways for so many times. I mean, love or hate Hanna's character. I mean, I've actually seen some legitimate posts and whatnot by people who don't like Hanna. I can actually see why she might seem unlikable, but at the same time, the haves and the have-nots has proven that both sides of the story can be right in their own way. Because, Hannah's right in trying to bring her children to the light, but the way she goes about it sometimes is both hypocritical, too critical, and semi-annoying to some characters. Because again, today I was actually reading through some Facebook posts, and I saw some legitimate arguments. And again, that's another video for another time. But I've seen some legitimate, just, hey, I don't like her because of this and because of that. And, I can see both sides of the story there. But she has tried genuinely a few times. I remember the most prominent time was when she went over to the Sarandon Hotel to try to make peace with Candace after the death of Amanda, and she literally said, look, I'm sorry about the man that molested you in our house, and and she went on from there. And she's tried a couple of times after that to make genuine attempts at bringing Candace to the good side. So again, Hanna has made multiple attempts sincerely to bring Candace to the good side. So with that being said, you look at the fact that Candace keep going in her own old ways, which is, conning people and making enemies with the wrong people and having some of her friends turn enemy, Warlock being the most prominent. Now, because again, I believe Erica even said that, hey, if you get custody of your child, let your mother take custody of little Q. But she wasn't having it. And Erica said, look, with people like Warlock walking around looking for you, showing up at the house all the time, he's better off with your grandma. Now you look at what's happening now. She kissed him on the forehead, climbed out of the window, and because of that, she pretty much left her family an open target because indirectly, Hanna did what she thought was right, which was go directly to the source, which was going straight for Warlock, saying, hey, I raised you like a son. Why do you want to hurt my child? And inadvertently, because of her actions, she failed in her attempt to get Warlock to back off. He had somebody follow her, and I'm pretty sure that guy followed her to the police station and then followed her back to the motel room. That's where Warlock knew to bust in terms of, hey, this is where Candace is hiding out. But Candace is at the other hotel right now, sleeping up with the potential future presidential candidate, Charles. So the fight that breaks out between Benny, Mitch, and Warlock and the crew, that could possibly cost her son's life. So if little Q dies because of that, there are so many things. It's like a ripple effect. There are so many things that will come from that. Poor Hanna will be devastated. I mean, she has been looking for that child for who knows how long. She has begged and pleaded with Candace so many times, only to be rudely rejected by her own daughter in terms of, look, I'm just trying to give your son a good life. I don't have all the money and whatnot. I don't have the nice house you have, but I have, a Christian, Christian values and whatnot. She could have raised Q the right way. If you look at what happened to Quincy Jr. in Candace's custody, nothing went right. I mean, I genuinely do think that Candace did think that Quincy was dead because of what, I believe she, it is kind of confusing. Based off what Quincy, the original Quincy Maxwell told Candace in terms of, look, you give me this money or I'm going to kill our son, and he actually did. I believe, with Quincy being, the bastard that he is and how intimidating he is to Candace, I do believe that she thought that little Q was dead. But it turns out he was with Quita the whole time. And heck, Quita's going to be looking for little Q, or still is, because of the whole, getting the child check and all that other crap. It's ridiculous. I mean, then you look at the fact again, Hannah's going to be heartbroken. And honestly, you can see how Candace is pretty much that middle ground, that canyon between the friendship of Catherine and Hanna. At first, it was the big gap being that, Wyatt was the one that hit Benny. And, their friendship was on the rocks for quite some time because of that. But now you see that it's Candace, like no matter what. If I'm not mistaken, Catherine even said, I'd rather give up this entire house than help your daughter. Or number 9, or as Hanna says, my daughter. But honestly, I could see the death of little Q being that driving force that makes Hanna go over the deep side saying, you know what, I'm done with you. You know what, Catherine, do whatever you want. I mean, it would not surprise me, but it would be a huge character shift because no matter what, Hanna does have her children's back. I will say that much. Even the naysayers for Hanna Young, you have to admit she has her children's back. But again, little Quincy Jr.'s death could be the driving force that says, you know what, I throw my hands up. I'm officially done with both of you. And Benny, nobody's ever addressed the whole, hey, you've been different since you got out of that coma. So, with that being said, those two, I mean, even the the son and mother dynamic there has definitely been shifted there. Well, I mean, I don't even want to get started on Tony's absence. Is he still kicking around? I mean, he hasn't found that kidney yet. So, heck, what if, and that leads to another side-off theory, what if Benny gets shot and killed by Warlock? Watch Tony just appear out of nowhere like the Grim Reaper trying to get that kidney from him. I mean, you might see that happen. So, Tony, if you're out there, heck, this might be your opportunity. So, it'll be definitely sad. So, I guess the biggest thing here is if Quincy Jr. was the one to be shot and killed, what would that do for Candace's character? I mean, we know how Hanna feels about the situation. I feel like her character shift could be, I put it up there with her and Candace. I guess the big question is if little Quincy is shot and either injured or killed, what would that do in terms of the character of Candace and Hanna? I feel like in terms of character shift, that would just put Hanna in a huge spin of depression because I I'm surprised she's still alive, guys. Honestly, I still am because, without the grace of God, even with, the grace of God, she has been through so much before the season, before the have-nots actually got started. And then you look at where she's been this entire way, from her so-called friends turning into enemies like Celine, her new friends like Catherine turning out, be backstabbers, to protect their own children. Wyatt, I want to protect him just like you want to protect Benny. But I think Candace, and again, this sounds bad, but it goes back to the whole Candace and Jim being, almost one and the same in some respects. I mean, Candace might try to shake off the death of Quincy like Jim tried to shake off Amanda. And that's not to say Jim literally just shook it off after one episode, but Catherine made a good point in one episode. I believe it was after she came from visiting Hanna and Benny for the first time. She said that, Jim, you're over there doing the crocodile tear thing where you're crying, but then the next morning you're just going to get up, put on your shirt and tie, and then you put on, I am a bastard, blazer or something like that, and just go on about his day like nothing happened. I could actually see that happening. He does have moments of remorse where you see him mention or mourn Amanda. We do see that. I feel like Candace might be the same way, but she actually, I don't know. It's just, you look at what she does for a child. As Hanna told her, I believe it was right after Amanda's funeral, and she came over to the crier house. Hanna said, if you actually care about that boy, you would be out there using all of your dirty resources and whatnot to find your child, but instead you're running up in this woman's house, starting trouble. And she made a good point. So I'd say that it might shake Candace, but at the same time, it wouldn't be enough to actually shift her. It could if, of course, if the plot writes it that way, but I think it would be sadistic irony if, let's say, that because of all the sexual assaults that Warlock did to Candace, that she gets pregnant by Warlock and then has a child by him. But then this time around, she actually raised her child the right way. I think that would be an interesting shift of character, because in real life, Tinka Sumner was pregnant. And I think that'll be an interesting, twist of character there in terms of writing. So, wow, okay, we're already 12 minutes in. So I need to wrap this up because it's already 8:18 where I am right now, and I need to get this posted before the actual episode comes on. So again, it would be very depressing if Quincy Jr. is either injured or killed in the attack that's going to happen later on tonight by Warlock and his crew. But admittedly so, his potential death would actually do a lot for the story. I mean, in terms of, it would be just like, like a tsunami or a hurricane that would definitely shift a lot of characters' attention away from what's going on right now. Will it be enough to take Candace out of her, thought ways? Would it be enough to make Hanna literally give up her faith, or, actually bring her closer to Michael? I can see Michael swooping in there, not like, a pimp or anything, but in the sense that, look, you helped me mourn and grieve. Now I want to help you do the same, because Hanna was actually there for Michael for quite some time. And, yeah, I mean, there was one particular scene, I believe it was, where Michael and Hanna were at the house, and she was talking about, she was actually cheering Michael up. I believe it was the cookout, like the barbecue or whatever, the party that Hanna threw when Benny came out of the hospital, and they were dancing and whatnot. And, Michael was just, about to cry, holding a beer about his granddaughter. And Hanna was like, hey, come on, cheer up. And again, I get what she was doing there. And again, this isn't knocking Hanna's character, but at the same time, she was trying to cheer up Michael, which was genuinely sweet. I asked myself the question, would she have that same attitude if, let's say, the roles were switched? Let's say if little Lizzy was in critical condition like Benny, but she came out of the coma and whatnot, and Benny was the one to die, as opposed to Benny actually coming out of the hospital alive while little Lizzy was the one that was killed. You know what I mean? So I think that would be a great way to reintroduce Michael into the scene if he's actually there for Hanna during her time of loss. Because again, that little boy, and I think Hanna said it a few times, that little boy is her heart, because she actually raised him from an infant to, I believe it was like, what, age 2 or 4, before Candace swooped in and got him, and then he was never to be seen again until Benny was the one to find him. So again, with that being said, there's so much more I want to say. I am upset at myself for not bringing myself to make this video until now, because there is so much more I want to say. So for whatever reason, let's say if the finale of the episode is, we hear the gunshot go off and see, the gun pulled out, but we don't see the victim, I will actually extend this video because, again, we're going on hiatus until about June or July. So leave your thoughts in the comment section below. If little Quincy is the one to be shot and either critically injured or killed, who do you think is going to affect the most? And again, it's a heavy subject, but do you actually think it will happen?